Lahai-Roi has concluded its main story, so there's quite a lot to talk about. It's really obvious to anyone who's been paying attention that the story of each major region talks about a certain topic that centers around the Thrunodian. Jinzhou opens up Solaris' story and the fight against the Lament, an apocalyptic disaster that constantly sweeps through the planet like a wave. People die en masse, and those that remain live struggling lives. However, despite everything, or maybe because of everything, people do their best to live as honestly and as purely as possible. The Black Shores, while comparatively brief, talks about the efforts humanity has taken to help those affected by the disaster. As the story progresses, the Black Shores' presence within the world of Solaris becomes more and more noticeable. Renacita talks about the people's desire to unite, and if free will really is worth it if the world is just that cruel. Leviathan claims that humanity will be so much happier under its rule, free to look away from the awfulness of the world, and to an extent, it may be correct. However, the ability to make choices, the ability to be right and to be wrong, and to make mistakes is exactly what makes humanity the way that it is. So what does Lahai-Roi talk about? Lucilla actually puts it the most clearly when she confronts the Grand Architect in her Segway quest, and that humanity's spirit is indomitable. Humanity will always strive to move forward even if it kills them. They will create, they will build, they will explore, and they will strive just because they can. And when they fall, another will pick up their baton and move forward again. It is because of this collective will to move forward that Lahai-Roi was able to secure a real victory against Aleph 1. This theme of moving forward in spite and because of hardship is reflected in all of the stories of Lahai-Roi. Lene's life in Star Torch Academy for at least a year was a lie that she had to maintain towards faculty and her friends. Prior, she was a mercenary from New Federation who wormed her way in by stealing a Star Torch acceptance letter that was held by a deceased Fraxidus member. Obviously, this life isn't sustainable and was caught in an incident involving Hibaceous tampering. On this specific instance, she didn't do anything wrong, but her presence there warranted investigation, and lo and behold, she was a stowaway. Life in Star Torch was over, she was being deported back to her grey life in New Federation. Despite her damaged trust with Rover and her imminent expulsion, she still chose to defend Star Torch Academy against the Void Worm by luring it away. She could have easily ran away. Star Torch Academy wasn't her responsibility, and she was well aware about what void matter does to frequencies. But Lahai-Roi has given her so much, shown her a life that she couldn't even imagine that she could have, and for her contributions and earnestness, she was granted a second chance. A large part of Mornier's development was not shown in the playable story, because by the time we meet her, she had already grown completely as an adult and as a character. In this section, I will go over her story as it is told in her profile. Mornier was born disabled, with no function in her legs. Though her parents loved her, her disability created rifts in her family. Her father, being an employee of one of New Federation's more notorious organizations, led to her teachers and fellow students to give her preferential treatment, possibly to accrue favors, but she would refuse. Trapped in the steel frame of her wheelchair and the dishonest eyes of her peers, she would often fall silent. All she had were her smarts, and that was what set her apart. They would respond if she asked for help, but they would always treat her differently. One day, she received an acceptance letter to Star Torch Academy. She accepted and aimed to prove that even someone like her, with a forte deemed useless, could be someone. She excelled in her field of exostrider engineering and pushed herself even further, before being told by a person with golden eyes to slow down, else she would miss the stars. Mornier would be taken up to the Frostlands by this person, and on the way, she was treated like any other person. No preferential treatment or hidden agendas. When she arrived and gazed at the stars for the first time, she found purpose. What was beyond the stars? What did it mean to reach for the beyond and to yearn for the unknown? By the time she reunited with Roper, 20 plus years would have passed. Many things have occurred since. She graduated and became a well-respected professor in her field. She introduced the night sky to Lahai-Roi's underground to give the students purpose and curiosity like that person once did for her, even if she lost her legs doing so. She has moved forward from the wheelchair-bound child who did not know that she had a future to a leader and inspiration to many. Eventually, she would finish the artificial sun Helios and finish the drive replica alongside the people of Lahai-Roi. This would later lead to Aleph I's banishment from Solaris. Like Mornier, by the time we meet Luke, he had gotten over a majority of his issues and became an anchor for Rover's grief. I'll go over his story as told in his profile. Luke's father at some point in his life was replaced by the Grand Architect, who used him to perfect the miracle drug Ichor. His adoptive brother Ryan, who he loved, was just another disposable thing, discarded and left to rot because he wasn't useful. Following this revelation, he would infiltrate the Fraxidus, vowing to hunt down the Grand Architect with righteous vengeance. Luke did his best to try and care for Ryan, but even then he would fall to the Ichor, malformed into a creature that attacked everyone in his ward in a horrific frenzy. In the end, Luke had to bury his beloved brother alive into the ground using the blood that he was blessed with. Rover at some point would tell Luke to take a step back. At the pace he's going, Luke would die having achieved nothing and suggested him to go to Lahai-Roi. There, he would grow to appreciate the people who lived there and protected them from the hidden agendas of Star Torch Academy. Sigrica, by comparison, has a more classic story, and it is shared by many students in Star Torch Academy, so I'll talk about them as well as a whole. Star Torch is a very prestigious institute where every student has the potential to change the world. Sigrica carries the expectations of the Royans to uphold her title as Heliodic Sixth successor, and many students have their own expectations that they need to strive for. This drive to succeed, the want to be perfect to meet those expectations, drives students to reckless behaviors, and this causes some to be injured beyond recovery or even die before they even get started. Sometimes this causes them to fear starting at all. However, to overcome this is a sign of maturity. To fail and move forward anyway is the essence of learning, and eventually you will reach new heights and achieve things beyond your wildest imaginations. Hiyuki's is a story of envy, trapped in the mire of jealousy of not being able to become the savior Ashinohara needed. She vowed to protect her home, but was entirely helpless to save Honami from the Trinodian. She sees Rover and sees everything that she isn't, a seemingly perfect savior always able to save the day alone. However, Hiyuki was reminded that a savior doesn't walk alone. They are always supported by their allies, and when the times get difficult, they need to always remember that they are never alone. Hiyuki now faces her biggest trial yet. Like Honami, Ashinohara has vanished, likely due to the Trinodian and maybe with the Fraxidus' involvement. This time, however, she forges with confidence. Imeth, even among the characters of Lahai-Roi, is special. Having lost her parents as a child to the Void Storm, she would trudge her way to the cabin in Ginnungamir, fall into the Void Matter Lake, and be rescued by Rover, who was staying there at the time. During the period when Rover would act as her guardian, she would inherit Rover's savior complex, for better or for worse. She saw how tired Rover would be, homesick for a world that would not answer, exhausted for a planet that they felt that they had to save, and fighting a disaster that only seemed to take more and more. In their final hours together before Rover left Lahai-Roi, she swore that she would grow to protect them because no one else could recognize that Rover was just like any other person in Solaris. This inherited recklessness led to her death by overclocking in order to save a village from a Tacit Discord outbreak following a void storm. Even in death, however, she would protect Lahai-Roi, protect the world as Rover would have done. Even when they implored her to stop, she completed the loop, banishing her outside of Solaris inside void space for an indefinite amount of time until someone pulled her out. It was the necessary action to ensure Lahai-Roi's and by proxy Solaris' continued existence. But even in void space, she would continue to try and help the trapped frequencies. The people of Lahai-Roi would also see the stranded Exostrider and choose to help. Many think that it is hopeless, but in spite of despair, they would choose to step forward. They would sacrifice their frequencies to create a map in a space that had nothing that would point the reader in the direction of the stranded Exostrider, plotting them in runes strewn across Lahai-Roi. In a place outside of time, the people within void space would mark the past with the future. This confidence would not be misplaced, as through these coordinates, Rover would be able to find their way back to Imeth and the Exostrider, Imeth to the replica drive and back, and scoring a win for humanity against the Trinodian. Sadly, not all things end in happiness. Daniel was unlucky. There was no savior to whisk her to a safe place. There was no indomitable spirit of humanity to give her hope. The Fraxidus had turned her into an avatar of destruction, a vessel for the evils of humanity. She would be told stories of the almighty Rover and think to herself, where were they when I needed them most? Surely, if the world could be this cruel, then it would not have meaning worth finding. Despite everything, she was able to realize that she too was human. She was capable of joys, of sorrows, and of anger because she was with her friends in Startorch, with Sigrika, with Nastasha, with her peers in the Department of Void Matters. Unfortunately, she found this realization far too late. Or maybe she was never going to be given the time to appreciate it, even if she did. She was dying. Her frequencies were failing her, and she had caused irreparable damage to her friends and to the people who gave her far too much than she thought she deserved. And even if Rover did fix her frequency problems, Left-1 would always know where Solaris is so long as Dinya remained, and Rover would have to wrestle with needing to mercy kill her to save Solaris. So she made the choice herself and chose to end her life in Solaris. So what was Lahai-Roi about? To me, it's about the indomitable spirit of humanity. To move forward even if it's hard, to move forward because it is hard, to move forward even if it's meaningless, and to make meaning from moving forward. Humanity might not be able to defeat the Lament. That's definitely something that you'd have to consider if you placed yourself in the world of Solaris. As a researcher, you'd be well aware that the human race has gone 10,000 years without having made a single step towards beating it. And even driving back Left-1 was not purely because of humanity's own efforts, but thanks to the Exostrider. However, this does not mean that it is a meaningless pursuit, as Lahai-Roi stated during their battle against the Ternodian. Personally, I think humanity will beat the Lament. Despair without hope goes against the narrative of Wuthering Waves. This game's story is defined by humanity's struggle to overcome hardship. Lahai-Roi's story, in my opinion, is what defines Wuthering Waves and is a story unique to this game. Thank you for watching up to this point. This is a little different from what I usually make, so I hope you enjoyed it. I will now go over the comments that I really liked. 10 comments to receive codes that I will distribute in my Discord. I have a Discord now. It's a small place. No, I'm not joking, it's really small. When you enter the server, please message me so that I can give you your codes. The winners are Amertzi, Elion4501, Dux9920, The Epic Gaming Chair, Minty Wings, I Love Eating Ramen, and Petra After Dark. But Ancient, that's 7 people, not 10. I know, but I couldn't find 10 people, so I'll settle with 7 and then pass the remaining codes on another giveaway as a housewarming gift for the new Discord server. Alright, thank you for watching, please subscribe, thank you.